Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Your Life Matters. Tonight we're going to be talking about confidence, how to get it, what to do with it, how to gain more confidence. I think we all wish we were more confident in some ways. Self-confidence is a big part of that. A little different than confidence itself, but it's a big part of that. Wanted to kind of update you on something. We've had a good day today, a busy day today. Went to church this morning. Debbie's got something coming up in the morning that's very unusual. She's got floaters in her eyes. If you're not familiar with what floaters are, they're just kind of I don't know, bags of fluid, I guess, that float around her eye, and they keep her from seeing things, and or seeing things clearly, I should say. So we're going down for a very early surgery in the morning, and get this, they're going to suck all the fluid out of her eyeballs, or at least one, and they're going to do that one first and then see how she reacts to it. Now, this sounds kind of weird. I don't know if they're going to be able to, if your body just normally regenerates that fluid or what. But anyway, we're going to find out tomorrow a little more about that. So keep her in prayer, if you will, as we go through that, or she goes through that tomorrow morning. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started about confidence. If you are interested in posing a question to us, just put that in the comment section. It'll pop right up, and we'll be able to answer that, and hopefully stop along the way and answer any of your questions you might have. So let's talk a little bit about confidence. Now, first of all, let me set the stage for you. I have subscribed to a number of different self-help groups and coaches and people along the way that we've paid a lot of money for to hear these same teachings that I'm going to be kind of imparting their wisdom to you. So you're the beneficiary of us paying hundreds of dollars over the years, and sometimes thousands of dollars over the years, to have heard these same things and be able to pass this little bit of info along to you. So let's talk a little bit about confidence. Confidence, as the dictionary describes it, is the belief that you can do something and that you're capable of achieving it. Now, self-confidence comes into play when you not only have the belief, but you just, by gosh, you know you can do it. That's where the self-confidence comes in. How much self-confidence do you have? I've told you this story before about when I was in engineering school. Our professor there told me, he said, "Head, you'll make it in engineering, in radio engineering, electronics engineering, but he said, you're not a natural." And you know what? That kind of thwarted me. And you know why? I've looked at that very seriously since that day, and I realized because I didn't have the self-confidence that I would be. I was doubting myself. And that's something I didn't think I could pull off. Therefore, I didn't pull it off. So our self-confidence is really a key factor. And it's how we view ourselves, not how others view us. That's where the confidence part comes in, where we show our abilities and we're confident we can show something as far as the expertise in our lives, the skills. But when the self-confidence starts to wane and starts to give us a little bit of problem, that's when the issues arise in our mind, and we're our own worst obstacles. You know, many times we're our own stumbling blocks, and that's the things that we have to work on. So let's talk a little bit about confidence. Isn't it funny that I was talking about Debbie's eye, and now my eye starts twitching? Funny how things like that, you set that in motion sometimes. The abilities are something that, of course, in confidence, it is your ability that makes you have the opportunities to do things. Your ability level is where a lot of your confidence comes from. And quite honestly, a lot of that comes from age. I remember when I first started in radio, I was working at a radio station in South Carolina, and I was just a young sprout at the time, just barely out of my teenage years. And I remember I was saying some things on the radio one day, and the owners came in and they said, "You're not old enough to have a personality yet." They said, "Don't say anything except introduce songs and outro songs. You're not old enough to be able to impart wisdom and talk on the air," which I thought that was odd, but anyway, that's what they said. They said, "You're just not old enough to have any kind of a personality." Well, you know what? You got a personality. A 2-year-old has a personality. So I think that sometimes we get a little off the beaten path in trying to tell others what they can and can't do and whether or not they have a personality. So there are 4 types of confidence we're going to look at: your abilities, your competence level, your values, and your reputation. Those are things that are very, very important to us, and all of those are kind of different in the way that we project our confidence. Self-confidence is different from self-esteem. You know, we talked about self-esteem a couple of weeks ago, but they're often confused with each other. Self-confidence refers to how someone feels about themselves. Or themselves. You are totally in control of your self-confidence. This can be positive or negative. You can be a glass half full or a glass half empty person. That is totally up to you. And sometimes we vacillate. Sometimes we're that way 1 hour of the day and we change a different hour of the day. Self-confidence kind of ebbs and flows, doesn't it? It's situational. And that's one of those things that we have to try to piece together in our minds. And, we have peaks and valleys. Well, we want to try to minimize the valleys and maybe even bring down the peaks a little bit and get things more on an even keel. So self-confidence comes from different sources. Two different sources, actually, is where your self-confidence comes from. Your personality traits and your experiences. Let's talk a little bit about personality traits. Our personality is, I mentioned that personality situation before. It is made up of who you are. And who you are comes from the environment that you were born in. It comes from the teachings you have as a child. I remember one of my teachers who I became friends with much later in life after school told me, he said that the majority of everything that anybody knows is gained before they're 5 years of age. Can you believe that? Almost all of your wisdom, not counting your schooling. Now that's even a smaller portion, but most all of your wisdom, the majority of it comes before you're age 5. And we all think we learn so much in high school or in college or in graduate school. Yeah, but the majority of what you learned started before you were 5 years old. So your upbringing, your environment, your training as a child, even your classes in school, all have a huge thing to do with your confidence level and how you were parented or how you were treated by your parents. Did they instill confidence in you? So many people are having to overcome those things that their parents did to them or didn't do for them, I guess I should say is a better way to term that. Maybe they weren't given the best confidence boosters in the world when their parents said something to them or when they chastised them or even when they did something right. They didn't get credit for it. Hey, Justin. Hey, Cody. Glad y'all are tuning in tonight. So let's talk about the 4 types of confidence. Now, we're going to talk in macro terms, which is large scale. Then we're going to kind of talk in micro terms. We're going to get down to the small things and talk about those too. So the macros of confidence are this. Your social confidence. Now, this is how you react when you're in a social event or with others. Anytime social is involved, that's with others. And nowadays, that can even be in social media. It's how people perceive you with what you have. And let me mention that just a moment. Social media has us so caught up nowadays in comparing ourselves to other people. You know, not everybody is showing their worst day on Facebook or on Instagram or TikTok for that matter. They're showing themselves at their absolute best. They have an opportunity to go in, unless they do it live like I do, where I love to do live stuff. I don't want to edit it and fix it. I want people to know me as I am, exactly as it is at that moment. So, but I'm an old radio guy, so that's a little different for me. But so many people like to edit. They like to take out the bad things. They like to take out if they didn't pronounce a word just right. You know what? You can't compare yourself to these people. There's no way you can compare yourself to what's going on Facebook, because that's people at their best generally. And let me tell you, I have 24 hours in a day. I'm awake, 18 hours a day or 14 hours a day. And all 14 of those hours aren't perfect. Let me tell you, they're not. So you are getting the best of the best when you're looking at social media. Don't compare yourself to someone else and say, I wish I were more like them, or I wish I could, or I wish. Just do it. Find a way and do it. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have, is that we tend to want to be someone that we are capable of being, yet won't put the necessary work into doing it. We have a saying in our business that it's hard to be a millionaire when you're doing hourly type work to get there. People paid by the hour are not going to make a millionaire salary. And unless you're expecting millionaire results, you got to put in millionaire kind of work to do it. So that's a big issue. Are you willing to do what it takes to achieve the goals that you want to achieve? So let's talk about those social activities right there. Social confidence is the ability to portray yourself as proficient. Now, there's good ways and bad ways to do that. Good ways, dress for success. I have been in situations before where I didn't think I was dressed appropriately for that particular situation. I didn't go dressed up as much. The rule of thumb is to dress, if you're looking for a job, for instance, dress one position higher in dress than what you would be going for. For instance, if you're going to be a manager of a company, go in and dressed as an executive of that company. So try to go one step ahead of where you are. Don't go in shorts and t-shirts. I'm a member of the Professional PA Announcers Association, and I tell PA announcers all over the country, do not show up in shorts to announce anything, whether it's a race, whether it's a ball game or whatever. I show up professionally because I want to be viewed as a professional in my industry. I'm not going to show up in shorts and some ratty t-shirt. So look at your dressing yourself for success. I think that's so important because that's the first thing people do is they see you. They see you first, and you've got to be visually somewhat attractive. We talk about that in the dating world. If you're out there and you're looking around in the dating world, the first thing that attracts you to someone is the way they look. You may find out that somebody that's, and I hate to use this term ugly, but somebody that's not necessarily so pretty, they have a great mind, and you just enjoy them so much, and you learn to be with them. But on the surface, at the beginning, you're more attracted to the way they look. So I think dressing for success is extremely important. Hi, Jimmy. A conversation how do we engage in conversation? So many people don't know how to carry on a good conversation. I used to teach drivers how to get sponsorship, race car drivers. And one of the things that I taught them was, guys, you got to go back to third grade grammar. Learn how to talk. Learn how to be in conversation. And you know what? It is so simple. If you walk up to somebody, all you got to say is, how are you doing? Or tell me what's going on in your life. People love to talk about themselves. You don't have to be a great conversationalist. Just open the door. Let them talk about themselves. Ask them one or two leading questions where they can say what's on their mind, and just let them go. And if you listen well, they will think you're the best conversationalist on the face of the earth. Not because you said anything, it's because you listened. So engage in conversation, and it's so easy to do. One of my staple items that I do now is I'll walk up to somebody just out of the blue and say, hey, you look like you're stressed. What's going on in your life? And man, they'll just unload on you. And that's okay, but that's a way for them. They'll think you're their best friend because you've taken the time to talk with them. Hey, Yvette. It's so important for us to be able to have a good conversation with people. I have learned recently the 3-foot rule. I learned this from one of my friends in our health weight loss program. And he's got the 3-foot rule. Anybody that comes within 3 feet of him, he's going to talk to them. If he passes them in a store aisle and they're within 3 feet of buggy's length, he's going to say, hey, how are you? What's stressing you out in your life right now? Or something along those lines. Get into conversation with people. I know Debbie sometimes says I go to the store and it's an hour before I get home because I talk to 100 people while I'm in the store. But that's how we make connection with people. Did you know connections are the most important thing right now? I did a seminar on connections 20-something years ago, and it's so important to remember that connecting with people, that's what we're put on this earth to do. God put us here to commune with Him and to commune with each other. Prayer is our form of communing with God and talking with each other. We're not meant to be vegetables at home, not talking to anybody. We're not meant to be positioned in front of the tube all day and not talk to anybody. We are conversational people. We are here to converse, and that's very important, is to engage in conversation. Next thing is get rid of self-deprecating language. Our pastor at church today was talking about that self-deprecating language that we let creep into our minds, that we're not good enough, we're not strong enough, we're not tall enough, we're not fast enough, we're not whatever. Hi, Ashley. Those kind of things, we just can't let that come into our mind. We are what God made us to be. We are the best. And I remember one of our motivational guys, we were in Thailand, as a matter of fact, at a seminar in Thailand. And he asked us all to write down what we're the best at in the country. And we're all writing down that I'm the best race announcer, I'm the best homemaker, I'm the best whatever, writing all these things down. And his answer was, no, you're not. No, you're not. And then I learned I am the best Charles Head on the face of the earth. That's it. I'm the best me on the face of the earth. So you gotta remember that. Don't talk down to yourself. You are the best person of you. You are the best person that you are on the face of the earth. So insert your name. Hey, I am the best. Ashley Gregory's tuning in. Ashley Gregory or Kaylin Nick Eccles. I am the best of your name on the face of the earth. That's what you're best at. Nobody else can be better at that than you are. So that's important for us to know. Stop any kind of self-deprecating comments. I had a doctor's wife that I used to walk with. And by the way, Frances, if you're watching this, happy birthday to you. Frances and I walked together every morning. For 14 years, we walked downtown Toccoa every morning. And at one point, I told her, I said, we're going to put a rubber band around your wrist, and every time you say, I'm not, or I can't, or I whatever, she was so down on herself usually. I said, we're going to take that rubber band, and we're going to pop that thing, and we're going to just indel that into you, that there's something inside of you that says, you don't need to be talking to yourself like that. So stop that self-deprecating language to yourself. It does you no good. It's not helping to build you up. It's tearing you down. You don't need to hear yourself say those kinds of things to yourself. Hey, Megan. Number 2 is confidence in your expertise. Now, your expertise is what you do, what you've learned to do. I'm fortunate. I've learned to do a lot of things. I enjoy doing a lot of things. My parents taught me well. I listened in school. I have a good memory. Those are the kind of things that help you out in your area of expertise. But you can trust your skills and ability. You know, so many people, they will start to do something and they'll say, is this right? Can I do this? When they've done it 1,000 times, they don't realize how well they can do something. Believe in yourself. You can do things that you've been trained to do. Believe in your abilities and your expertise. And then if you're not exactly where you want to be, keep learning and honing those skills. You know, there's nothing wrong with taking a seminar or a course or a class or some coaching from someone on occasion. I've coached people and I've been coached by people, even recently, still learning and taking coaching from people because I want to be better than I am today. I want to hone those skills. I want to be better at what I do. That's one of the reasons I do this broadcast, is because next what I do, I'm going to be better at it because I've encountered something this time that will prepare me for next time. Constantly hone those skills and gain confidence in your expertise. Trust your skills and your abilities. You know, God gave us the opportunity to learn, and we continue to learn every day. Don't ever put that past you. You're never too old to learn. You can teach an old dog new tricks, believe me. And your physical confidence. Confidence in your bodily appearance. We talked about that a few moments ago. That's something you got to have. Hey, Tim. It's hard to make new friends and acquaintances if you're not physically appealing. Now, for me, I know looking back 3 years ago, I was 275 pounds. And I didn't really think much about it, to be honest with you, until I started losing weight and I started seeing a little different look from people. And I was talking to a gentleman this afternoon who just signed up on our program. He's 295 pounds. And I said, you know, people treat you differently once you get thin. Guys, I don't know why it is. It shouldn't be. It should be all about your abilities. It should be about your personality. But honestly, you get treated differently when you look like, as I say, look like a real boy. When you look like people they see on TV. When you're thin and you're vibrant and you're exuberant and you have energy, people treat you differently. So that's something you have to keep in mind. If you aren't physically appealing in your body, then there's things you need to do. And you may need to go to the gym, work out a little bit. You know, nothing wrong with toning up the body, although we have learned that you don't really lose weight, not massive amounts of weight in the gym. You lose that through nutrition. And so we can help you with that. If you're interested in that area of things, we can definitely help you with that. We got over 600 clients now, and I tell you what, it has just been phenomenal. But anyway, I won't go there right now. So what can we do? Positive affirmations. How about this? I used to do this with my youth groups at church. I would have everybody go around the room and we'd put one person in the middle and we'd go around to the other 30 or whatever kids were there and I'd say, tell me one thing positive about this person. And of course, everybody, it'd be a crying fest before it was over with. They had no idea that people thought that about them. So you make a list of the things that you like about yourself. Get your body in shape through your nutrition and toning, and update your wardrobe. Those are things that you can do. Make a list of the things physically that you like about yourself. You may say, I hate my hair. Well, go get your hair colored. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you know that I started coloring my hair when I was 40 years old, and I quit last year? So for 28 years, I colored my hair because I was actually turning white-headed. I thought I was turning gray, but I was turning white-headed back in my 40s. And I colored my hair for 28 years. And I decided to stop last year. And now I get so many people saying how natural I look and how I've even heard the term distinguished. But anyway, I just decided I'm tired of coloring my hair. So that's one thing that I quit doing. But there's nothing wrong with doing that. Nothing at all wrong with coloring your hair. Debbie and I laid out in the sun a little while this afternoon. Wanted to get a little browner. We got a trip coming up. And we're going to be in swimsuits, and we didn't want to be just white as a ghost. So went out and laid out in the sun. You know, we all do things to make our appearance a little different than what it is. So those are things that we do to try to help ourselves out. That's okay. Update your wardrobe. I had to do that a few years back. I realized everything I had was old man stuff. Matter of fact, I've got a shirt in my closet right now. Debbie says, do not ever wear that shirt again. It looks like an old man. Well, I'm 69 years old. I kind of am an old man, but I know what she means. It looks like something that maybe my grandfather would have worn, even though he died at 73. Looks like something he would have worn back in the day. So I got to get rid of that shirt. Update your wardrobe. Get you something nice. And you don't have to have $1 million wardrobe. Get you one or two things you're going to wear out in public on a regular basis. And invest just a few dollars. And here's something we learned long ago. Invest in good quality clothing. Clothing will last you many, many years. I've got shirts that I've had for 10 years. Well, not really, because I got rid of all my double X's and now I have larges. But before that, I had shirts that I had lasted for a long time. Because quality clothing, it's worth putting the extra money into it because it will last. And you'll wear those things for a long, long time. So invest in a few items in your wardrobe to get that updated and make sure that you look like most people out there do. Look at the TV shows. Look at the catalogs and things. Yes, catalogs still come in the mail. Look at some of those and try to see if you can update yourself. Thank goodness I've got a wife who is somewhat fashion conscious, and she keeps me in line and says, this would look good on you. It's funny because Debbie will say, I think this will look good on you. And then I'll say, I don't know. And then she'll say, you know, this would really look nice on you. Then she'll hold it up to my face and say, you'd look so good in this. See, she's doing this selling job. And of course, I recognize that. And then, of course, she has to then bring it on home. Literally, once we bring it home, she has to say, now go try this on. This is going to look so good on you. So she continues to reinforce that. See, that's salesmanship. That's what we have to do in every area of our life. We have to tell people what they need to have. Then we have to explain it to them. We have to sell it to them. And then we have to sell what we sold to them over again. That's the way salesmanship works. She's a master at that. And yet she would tell you she's not a salesman at all. Poppycock. She's a great salesman. You got to have confidence in your self-worth. Now that means knowing what you're capable of. Have some parameters. Know what you're capable of doing. Know what you have that you can offer others. In life we have to have a clear view of what we deserve. Jim Rohn, who was a great motivational speaker, passed away a few years ago. And Jim Rohn says we always get what we deserve. We don't get what we want. We wind up getting what we deserve. So if that's the case, how come we limit what we deserve? We limit what we deserve by not preparing ourselves for the harvest. You know, all 4 seasons are present every year. Every year you have winter, spring, summer, and fall. Harvest, fall, harvest. So when summer comes, we're watering, we're fertilizing. Of course, in springtime, we're planting. And then when harvest comes, like right now, it's harvest time, that's when we reap the rewards. So if you have not had an opportunity of getting what you deserve because you didn't plant, remember the Bible says, plant, ask and ye shall receive, but it also talks about planting, the parable of the sower. The sower had to plant. Some of that soil, some of it fell on good soil, Some of it fell on poor soil. And some of it, as Jim Rohn says, the noxious weeds and the busy bees and the busy bugs came and got it. Some of it's going to go away no matter what you do. But if you will plant your seed, plant plenty of seeds, plant them on as fertile ground as you can find. In other words, try to have a receptive audience for anything that you've got going on. Any idea you've got in mind, have a receptive audience. Then the harvest will come. It doesn't say the harvest may. The Bible says the harvest will come. So we got to keep in mind what God's Word says. You know, that's an infallible thing. I know you didn't tune in to get preaching, but let me tell you, God's Word is infallible. And if He says the harvest will come, I trust in that, and I believe it will. Encourage yourself. Forgive yourself. My goodness, if you've done something wrong, give yourself some grace. Get it out of your mind and move on. So many times we think we made a mistake. Well, you know what? We all make mistakes. I've made mistakes. We all make mistakes. Give yourself a little bit of grace. Move on. Get it out of your mind and forgive yourself and go on. Encourage yourself. I can do better. You know, you can always do better. I encourage myself every day. And another thing I started doing is keeping a journal, a gratitude journal. Every night I write down things that I'm thankful for that day. And that's been so important to me to stop and realize that remember we learned this in Sunday school as a small brat. We learned that every good and perfect gift comes from above. God is responsible for all good things. So what little gratitude that we have that we can put down, even the most minute things, when I say little things, even the most minute things, we have to realize those are a gift from God. And the big things, those are just a blessing. Those are a huge blessing to our lives. So we have to remember to remember where that gratitude came from. We didn't make these things. Here is where self-confidence can become overconfident if we don't watch it. We start to think that we did this, that we're in charge, that we're the big cheese, we're the kahuna. No. Remember, we are the vessel that God works through. He is the one that created all things good. We just happen to be His vessel. Yes, some people are blessed more than others. I can't explain that, but I do know that God gives us tremendous things in life, and we still need to give Him the praise and the honor and glory for that. Hey, Ed Pugh, hope you're doing well. Confidence is such a big part of life. The more you have, the farther you'll go in life. And I see people all the time, and I just wish I could pour confidence into them. They have so much going for them, yet they seem to lack that self-confidence. They just are very unsure of themselves. And building your confidence not only helps you to succeed, but it just makes you a better person. You know, it makes you such a better person when you have the confidence to know that, number one, you know what you're talking about. Number two, God is with you through this. So that's a great thing to do, is have God on your side as well. We talked about those macros. Those are the 4 big macros that we're going to look at. Now let's get into the micros. Let's dissect this a little further. Let's talk about the confidence in your ability. The confidence in your ability is where you look at things and say, I know I need to get better at such and such. I want to read more books. I want to listen to podcasts. You know, there's on YouTube and on any of the podcast platforms, there is so much free information out there that will help you in just about every area of life. Google it, check those podcasts out, and see if you can hone those abilities. The confidence in your appearance. The confidence in your appearance, again, when you know people that have walked into a room and they just realize they have captured the room because they look the part. They look like they're confident. They look like they own the room. They walk in and all eyes turn toward them. Now, I'm not saying be conceited and be arrogant and wear such flashy things. Of course, I wear my yellow hat, and most everybody looks at that, but that's a branding thing. That's not a confidence thing. Sometimes I have to look at myself and say, I can't believe I'm wearing my yellow hat into this area. But anyway, it is a branding thing. So I think I've worked well with my brand and the yellow hat that Debbie decided I should wear for my brand. Anyway, confidence in your competence. You got to be confident that you are able to do things. When people ask you and you say yes to something, you got to have the ability to know, I can pull this off. And if you don't, go home and study. Oh, I can't tell you how many times, we weren't born knowing how to do anything, really, except poop and cry. That's about all we were born to do. So we have to learn how to have confidence in everything we do. My sister, bless her heart, she wanted to learn so many things in the craft world that she would agree to teach them for the recreation department before she even knew how to do it. That way, she was confident that she was going to learn it well enough to be able to teach it to people. And let me tell you, if you learn to teach it to someone, you have to know it very, very well. And she did a good job of that. She really was very confident in her abilities that if I say I'm going to teach this, I'm going to learn how to do it, and I'm going to teach it better than anybody else. And I kind of follow along, not quite as well, but with that same idea in mind. Love to be able to teach people. Sometimes I'm teaching kind of over my head because I haven't learned exactly as much as I wanted to. Confidence in your values. What are your values? Do you always live your life based on your values? Sometimes we get a little out of sorts with that. We get our values kind of screwed up. You know, we have an idea where we want to go. We've been taught certain things. Our parents had great values. Most of them did. And if your parents had poor values, hopefully you've learned to pattern your life after someone else. So many of us take another person and we say, I want to emulate that person. I've done that in many areas of my life. I felt like I would find the most positive and the most knowledgeable person in an area and say, I want to pattern myself after them. Now, did I repeat everything they did? Did I do it exactly as they did? No, I added my own personal take to it, but I felt like that they were the best at what they did, and therefore I wanted to try to emulate them as much as possible because that was going to make me a better person. So that's your confidence in your values. How about your confidence in your reputation? You know, so many of us have had a situation where something bad has happened to us in previous life. You know, it's not a sin what happens to you in life. The sin comes in when you don't do something about what happens to you in life. So with our reputation, we have to constantly check ourselves and say, am I doing the best I can with what I have, with the information I have? Now, there's a big key. Sometimes we make a wrong decision and we look back and said, you know, at the time, I made the best decision I could with the information I had at that moment. You can't fret over that and say, if I'd only known, or if I had done it differently, or if somebody had told me. You know what? You did the best you could at the time with the information you had. Deal with it. If it was a problem, forget it. Ask for forgiveness and grace and move on. But we've got to have confidence in our reputation. And it may be our future reputation. It may not even be our past reputation. We might have to carve out a future reputation and have confidence in that. Social self-confidence. We talked about social media. We've talked about being social, which just means being out among people. Learn to have confidence when you're out there. You know, there's some people. We had a counselor one time who told us that one of our relatives, they said, just treat him like a piece of furniture. He's in the room. He's listening. He's paying attention to what's going on, but he's not much of a conversationalist. So treat him like a piece of furniture. Well, I don't want to be a piece of furniture. I want to be involved in conversation, and I want to be able to talk with people, converse with them. And you know why? It's not that I want to get my point across. It's that I want them to hear themselves talking about positive things. I talk with race drivers on a regular basis, you know, when I do the radio show, and I'm wanting them to hear when I say something about how great they did, or they pulled off a pass for the win or something. I'm primarily wanting them to hear themselves say it to build their confidence. It's a big boost whenever you help someone to build their own confidence. And that's what I'm trying to do, is help them get over that social unconsciousness, I guess you'd say, or unconfidence, the lack of confidence in their social skills and abilities. I have many parents that tell me, oh, my child, they'll probably be on your show, but I doubt they'll say 2 words. They wind up talking for 10 or 15 minutes. Because you draw out a little bit when you start praising people. They're more open and they're able to develop that social self-confidence. Now let's talk about overconfidence. There is a time when you become overconfident. And I'll have to tell you my story on that. I was a Gideon speaker. For many years, I went to churches and spoke in churches and got money for the Gideons, who, of course, provide Bibles for fifth graders and for nurses and for prisons and so forth, and hotels, obviously. And so I was a Gideon speaker. And I would practice and I would get my speech just like I wanted it. And I felt as though I did really well. People told me I did well. So we had about 3 months off before my next speaking engagement, and I didn't even brush up. Man, I know this. I got it. I am ready to stand in the pulpit and go. And I fell flat on my face, not literally, but flat on my face conversationally that day because I was overconfident. I went in knowing that I had this. I've done it so many times. I am ready to go. And I just fell flat on my face. So brush up. Can't get overconfident. You've got to continue to hone your skills. And again, we get what we deserved, and I deserved to fall flat on my face because I did not have myself prepared for that. I'm an old Boy Scout. Be prepared is my slogan, and I have to remember I got to be prepared. And I've learned a big lesson since then. I am prepared now when I show up most of the time for anything that goes on. So how do you gain confidence? Let's talk about that. We've talked about what it is. We've talked about ways of not having it and ways of having it. How do you gain confidence? What do you do? Number one is know your strengths. Don't operate outside your strengths, but do stretch yourself a little bit. You want to be able to go a little better than you are now. They say the best way to get better in golf is to play with players who are 2 to 3 strokes better than you. As far as handicap is concerned. Always play with somebody a little better than you because they'll bring you along. Now, for them, they probably don't want to play with you because you're a little worse than them. But anyway, find folks that are willing to play with you that are a little stronger than you are. And that helps bring you along. That's an important aspect. No matter what you do, try to surround yourself with good people. Do you know that we're the sum of our 5 closest friends, the 5 people that we spend the most time with? Start surveying your friends. Are you with a bunch of folks that you say, can't believe I spend that much time with them? Well, you know what? You're a sum of all of their personalities because that's what you hear from most of the time. So surround yourself with good people. It's always good to know your strengths and be surrounded with good people. An aspect that I had to learn many, many years ago is learn to say no. Focus on whatever is comfortable for you. Now, you may be like me and can do a lot of things and have your time still. Well, I don't know how to put that because I'm trying to retire, but that's not working out too well. But anyway, I am capable of doing more than one job, more than one thing. I have a number of irons in the fire, and I keep those irons hot, and I enjoy that. So, but learn to say no whenever it gets to the point where you're stretching yourself too thin. That's something that I am going to have to learn to do as I get older. I'm going to have to learn to say no, and I am preaching to the choir. Believe me, you probably know that far better than I do on how to say no to things. But that is one of the great strengths of confidence, is learning to say no and be able to control the things that you need to do and do them well. You can get so much on your plate that things start to suffer. None of us want to be in that position. Nobody that I work for deserves for me to do less than the best I possibly can do when I show up. Find a way to talk about your accomplishments. It's important for us to hear, just like I was talking about, we want to get other people talking about their accomplishments and what they've done and about their life. It's important for us to hear what we've done as well. So find someone that's an attentive ear that you can talk about your life and your accomplishments with. It's a very good thing. Not braggadociously, but matter-of-factly what you do. I'm a member of a number of Facebook groups where we encourage everybody, and people are going in and they're sharing some of the things they do. And it's not braggadocious in any way. It's very, very informative, and it's cathartic. It's good for them to get it off their chest. This is what I did this weekend. Man, that's great. We're so happy for you, so proud to know you. You're such a great person. Doesn't hurt to get that kind of feedback from people. It's really important. Make a list of your positive qualities. I mentioned a moment ago about in youth group, we used to have everybody go around the room and they would focus on one person and we'd talk about their qualities and how good they are and what we thought about them. What about yourself? What qualities do you have? Have you ever listed a list of your strengths? Yeah, just sit down and list out a list of your strengths. I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. And then on the opposite side of the page, I wish I were better at this, better at this, better at this. Don't say I'm bad at this or poor at this. Just say I need to be better at this and better at that. So put down your strengths. You'd be amazed at how many strengths that you have if you really put your mind to it. God has blessed you richly, and there's a lot of strengths you have. And how are you going to use those strengths? That's the important thing, is how are you going to use those? Learn to think positively. So many people in life, I remember I've had people in my life that were definitely glass half empty people, not glass half full people. I remember one guy that worked for me. This is back in the late 70s or early 80s, and I asked him. I said, "Jim, how are you doing today?" And he said, "Well, I'm less depressed today than I was yesterday." And he had this perpetual tear in his eye, and bless his heart, he was just a sad person. And not that there's anything wrong with depression. Of course, we talked about that with Debbie a couple of weeks back. Clinical depression is a very real thing. But you know, sometimes you have to, if possible, kind of trick your mind by saying, things are good. I'm making the best I can with what I've got going on right now. And I think that's important to do. Hi, Daniel. Think positively as much as possible. Try to be positive in all things going on. Avoid negative people and situations. Oh, my goodness. There's some people you just can't be around. There's some people that just drag you down. We all know those. We all have those in our lives. They just drag us down. We got to get rid of those. You got to bring those people out of your life. Hi, Carolyn. You got to bring those people out of your life. Get out of those negative situations. I find myself in those on occasion, and I do my best to extricate myself from that particular situation whenever possible, because I just don't need the negativity. Don't have time for it. Positive people will find a way to repel negative people in negative situations. Get out of comfort zone. Lionel Richie always says that life begins at the end of your comfort zone, and I found that to be true. So many times I have, especially recently when we've started on this weight loss program and signing up clients, I have realized that everything happens when I get out of my comfort zone and do something that I previously wasn't comfortable doing. Again, we came into this world, all we knew how to do was poop and cry. And we've all learned to do things. And every bit of that took us out of our comfort zones. Everything we've learned to do, we had to do because we didn't know how to do it, and we had to do it wrong before we could learn to do it right. So get out of your comfort zone. Stretch your wings. Learn new things. I don't care what age you are. You can do that, and that will build that confidence, that self-confidence. It will build it, and it will get stronger. It's important to remember that there are many different types of self-confidence, many different types. For example, it can be your ability that you not feel good about yourself because of the way others treat you. Don't let other people dictate what you feel about yourself. I know we tend to do that. We tend to take other people's opinions over our opinion. What do they know? They don't know everything that we're involved in our life. So don't let them drag you down because of the way they treat you. Maybe you have a high level of confidence, but you still have doubts and fears. Well, you know what? We all have doubts and fears. So that's not something new to everybody. We just fight through those fears. We know that when the time comes, we're going to be able to pull it off. We're just going to find a way. So many things when we start out, we don't know the answer. We don't know the way it was going to end, but we start out knowing that the end and the way will be made for us. So don't worry about having doubts and fears. We all have those, even though we may look like we don't. We've all got those doubts and fears. Many times I'm trying to trick my memory because I want to make sure that my memory stays strong. And I will start to tell a story on the radio show. I cannot remember the driver's name, and I'll start to tell the story anyway. Because when I get to the end of the story, I expect my brain to come up with the name of the driver that I'm trying to talk about. And so far it has. Now, I don't know if that's going to continue. But just because you're scared of something, man, just do it anyway. Just do it anyway. Adopt the Nike slogan, just do it. Don't forget that feelings can lie to us sometimes. Our feelings are not necessarily the truth. We can get all wrapped up in our feelings, and that's not necessarily what's going out. Those feelings can make us feel confident in anything that sounds like something might be happening. It makes us sound like that we can't do something, that we're having an issue with things. Don't let feelings get in the way of reality, because we have to, the best way to get something done in life is through action, not through feelings and analyzing your feelings about it. Feelings will lie to us, so we have to watch that. And you do that by doing some self-reflection. Look into yourself and say, exactly what am I doing here? Look at it analytically. Look at it from the analysis standpoint rather than the feeling standpoint. I think sometimes we might find that the feelings may be holding back our confidence a little bit. Just because you're not feeling it doesn't mean you don't need to do it. So many people rest on those laurels and they just never do anything because they're just not feeling it this day. Well, you know what? It's time to do it anyway, regardless of your feelings. Confidence is a very personal thing. It depends on where you are in life, what's going on. It's situational. It depends on whether something can be nurtured through some effort that you can put into it. It depends on what other people say to you. It is such an individual thing. The most important thing is you keep working on yourself. And listen to the voice of reason. Again, don't listen to the feelings necessarily, but listen to the voice of reasoning that's in your brain. What do you think? Not what do you feel. What do you think is going on, and what do you think you can do about it? Remember, everyone has strengths, but only you know how to use the strengths that you have. And you know how to manipulate and twist and turn those strengths to pull that into confidence. You have to find out a way to figure out what works best for you. Confidence is something you can gain through all of those things that I just pointed out. Make sure you learn how to talk positively to yourself. Root out the negativity in your life, whether it's situational, whether it's someone or something or something that you read. Learn how to be able to put your feelings aside, look at things from an analytical standpoint. What do you think about it? Not what do you feel about it? And see if you can start boosting that confidence. I guarantee you, if you'll put these things into practice, you will be able to be a more confident person and be able to gain that not only confidence that you have the ability to do something, but the self-confidence that not only do you have the ability, but you can act on it and possibly even teach it to somebody else. Yeah. Listen, that's going to do it for tonight's Your Life Matters. Thanks so much. Get ready to tune in with us next Sunday night. We'll be handling another big topic. Remember to pray for Debbie as she goes in for that crazy eye surgery tomorrow. That's going to be interesting. So we hope that's going to go well. So pray for her if you don't mind. Thanks so much for viewing tonight. We look forward to seeing you soon. Hey, Tracy, tuning in right there at the last second. Anyway, this will be on YouTube, and it'll also be here on Facebook Live for you to go back and watch if you wish. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on Your Life Matters.